David Fitzsimons is still in the lead with 4 out of 5. He won his game this morning, so he was on 4 out of 4, but he lost his game this afternoon against Colm Daly, and we'll be looking at that game at some stage.
We're actually going to be looking at both of those games today.
We're going to be looking at
critical games. We're actually going to be looking at 2 games of Colm Daly that he won today. One against Dave Fitzsimons and the other against Tom O'Gorman, who of course is one of Ireland's newest IMs with the GM norm as well.
And Joe Ryan is on 2.5. He's been doing quite well. Mark Heidenfeld, he's also on. I think he had 1 win, 1 loss, and the other 3 are draws. Alex Baburin is our grandmaster. He is on 2. He gave a draw to Eamon Keogh. Eamon, after playing not great chess in the first 2 games, he's played great chess in every game since, and it's a pity that he's only got half a point to show for it. But I just looked up his record on the Irish Chess Union, and he is in his 80s. And to be playing in your 80s against all these young buccos.
Don't be so ageist, Jonathan. Don't be so ageist. No, it is. Eamon is a great ambassador for the game.
Great ambassador,
but also it's not just what he's done outside of chess. Within the ICU as well. He's just every day he plays game. It's brilliant, and he's so creative. And
he is very creative.
He played against Mark was brilliant. So
yeah.
So anyway, so there's 2 more rounds tomorrow to decide who the champion of champions is going to be. So let's see some of the action from today. Let's start off with this game that you chose between Colm Daly and Tom O'Gorman. Colm had the white pieces, and so Colm opened with the English.
Let me just so here we go. So Colm started with an English, but we transposed to a Catalan position quite quickly. And this is interesting. Tom has been playing this early knight d7 in a couple of games. He's kind of been playing Queen's Gambit declines with this early knight d7, and I don't know. I've never seen that move before. Maybe you've seen it, but it seems to be maybe he's trying to avoid some variation, or he's just trying to confuse his opponents and say, listen, there's nothing in the books about this. You got to do your own work.
Good, yeah.
So he played knight d7, but Colm doesn't go for a standard Queen's Gambit declined by playing the knight to c3, and instead plays the knight to d2, just making sure that this pawn here can't be taken and be defended. Actually, maybe that's why the knight goes to d7 so early.
Yeah,
you could go here, and that would defend that pawn if you took it. So maybe that's the little wrinkle.
There's a variation like in the d4, d5, knight f3, and some players go knight d7 there. So if c4, you just take it and go knight b6.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that in a few different lines. So I think it's effective, particularly against when white plays the fianchetto system.
Right.
But this looks all reasonable.
Okay. Anyway, so we had this, and now Colm goes for Catalan type setup, which I've played a lot, and in fact we come to a position that I think. Well, okay, Bishop d6. I had a game against Sarah Scott a few years ago in the Irish, and she played. I think she played in a very similar position. She played Bishop e7. But I don't know. I don't know what the difference is.
I'm not sure what the huge difference is, really, to be honest. Yeah. Obviously, though, but Bishop d6 is a more active square.
Yeah, so it is.
It feels more active, and the only thing I can think of is that there might be some instance where if Black wants to achieve c5, then the bishop could be hanging on d6 from a queen on d1 or a rook on d1. And I'm thinking specifically if White manages to achieve e4, but I mean that's a long way down the line, and lots going to happen before then as well.
Yeah. So what happened? We have castles, Bishop e2, c5, and here we have. This is where things start getting interesting, because you've got tension in the center. In a way, Black has the slightly more active bishop, the bishop on d6.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more up the board, but
On a draw, on the other hand, though, Black might, wanted to have played like an idea like knight to e4, followed by bishop to e7 to f6. So that the bishop's kind of restricted in what it can do. It's only good there if it's really kind of supporting the e6 pawn moving to e5. Either before the pawn gets exchanged on d4, so that may not be the smartest setup against what Colm has done, though. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those roughly equal positions, which is with anything can really happen.
Yeah, what happened now though was that we had a trade off and of pawns, and then Colm takes this pawn, and here's the big moment, Mark. And this is something that I had a very similar position against Sarah Scott, and in that game, Sarah took with the pawn here, which is what Tom did.
Okay.
But afterwards, looking at it, it would appear that it would have been better to take with the knight, and the reason is you're not too worried about the isolated pawn, especially I guess with this knight here. That knight, it's not attacking the isolated pawn. So your isolated pawn is much safer in this position than if the knight was on c3.
Yeah, but that being said, Jonathan, I would have always felt in these Tarish type positions, because this could easily have transposed from a mainline Tarash.
Yeah.
That the bishop belongs in e7 here, so as that the queen is defending d5, but also when you play knight f to e4, at some point you have bishop f6 in reserve. So one benefit is that when you do play rook e8 here, you've got immediate pressure on the e file. But at the same time, there's always this sense of what is the bishop really doing there.
But I think this. And certainly, I mean, there's not a lot of difference in the position, but I know from later games that I've played, I hesitate to try to take off twice because I'm never sure whether it's better to take with the pawn or the knight. And I've learned from blitz games against my clubmate John Kennedy, who's played the Tarish for 25 years or something like that. And he just puts his pieces on really active squares and often destroys me. So
yeah, I would have thought though that it's an interesting one. But if with the bishop on d6, it makes more sense to take with the b pawn than the knight somehow, because the bishop really. I just feel like that the only drawback to that is that bishop on d6 is vulnerable to attack. And now White's poorly placed knight on d2 can possibly even come into the game through c4.
That's what happened, Mark. That's what happened. You're like eagle-eyed for little tactics.
See, I was only I'll be honest. I mean, this idea is I'm borrowing it straight out of a Scotch game idea. There's a variation in the Scotch where you play knight d2, and there's a game where Vidit played against Mamadrov about 3 years ago. And it's a game I teach quite regularly to students. And there's this idea that the knight's dominated on d2, but gets to play knight c4, and because of a clever little pin on the d file.
Right.
So and then reroutes to e5, but in here it might even reroute to e3 and then into f5 as well. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
it's a standard ploy. Yeah.
Anyway, again, Tom, I think he started burning time here. And he took like 15 minutes or 13 minutes to play bishop e7. He has a number of moves that he can think about. He has bishop c7, just to stay on the long diagonal, and not worry too much about these pawns. He has pawn takes knight.
Yeah, which is what I would favour. To be honest,
why would you favour that, Mark?
Well, I don't want to waste another tempo going back. That feels like a psychological defeat. At least here, maybe I can gain some. I can take on b3 to start, which means that I've created a weak pawn there.
Right.
And if I want, I can probably go queen b6 as well, which is encouraging a queen exchange. And after queen takes queen, a takes b6.
Not knight takes to hold the pawn.
Oh no, you missed. So in this position before queen b6, I'd play pawn takes b3.
Oh, okay, yeah, right,
So take
right,
first.
right.
And,
Okay, so now there, and now queen b6. You're saying as an option.
An option, yeah, because I don't think it's the most amazing position for black, but that pawn on b3 is weak. So how do you defend, the pawn and bring the queen back? So if queen d3, for example, you've got some options there. You've got
there's bishop e4 or bishop e4 or bishop to d5.
Yeah, they're the ones I'm looking at. I like bishop e4 because it's immediately posing the question to the queen where it's going to go. Now I guess most players would put it on c3.
I would go to c3, and I'm really hoping that you're going to attack my queen again, Mark.
Yes, exactly.
Because do you know why, Mark? Do you know why?
Because that's the magic square.
No, because it gives me the opportunity to say shakalaka boom.
Yeah, so I mean the thing is that but there's no reason for that knight to move, and black's pretty solid. So, but you could here do a move such as like rook f to b8. Does the rook even need to be on the e file? Could be, but
or can you just go here?
You could go rook a to b8 too. Yeah, I was wondering about whether you want to at some point go a5, but no. And what's white going to do here? Knight d2. Yeah, I mean,
guess.
Rook b8's perfect. Rook no, it makes sense to keep the rook to go to e8. It does.
Okay.
Keep your options open to challenge d5. I'm just being kind of.
Oops, sorry. Hang on. I'm trying to find the right move.
So rook a b8. Your suggestion of rook a b8 makes more sense.
Okay.
Then the pawn is hanging there on b3. So there's knight d2. Like we're getting some wholesale trades here, but black is very active.
Yeah, so and actually now once the two bishop, once one of the bishops is swapped off, white no longer has the advantage of the two bishops. Now he does have a nice bishop here, and I would be slightly worried about what's going to happen.
White's a little better.
Yeah, white's a little better. Right, fair enough.
Better, yeah. Now the other thing you could have done instead of bishop e4 as well, and just to go back in that, is maybe there's something more here, because if you think about it, the other little idea I was thinking about, e2 is a very key square in all these games, and the reason I wanted to keep the rook on the a8 file was actually go a5 here.
Yeah, and you're gonna go here and target this pawn, or once the queen moves out of the way. It's
very committal strategy from black, but it's interesting because the e2 square is vulnerable. And let's say white went knight d2 here.
Well, now you can just go here. Oh no, then there's knight c4, isn't there? So that's not going to work. Yeah. If you go here,
bishop a6, knight's there, and you could go queen e6. Oh no, the pawn's hanging on a5 then.
No. This is a bit. No.
Well, you always have bishop takes knight and rook a b8. Now I know you've given up the two bishops, but there has been an awful lot of exchanges in the game. Okay. So rook a b8. So there's no. Maybe white's just always going to have a permanent edge in these positions.
Well, the two bishops now, and I don't really like this for black.
Yeah, no, I think that the weakness of the c pawn. So maybe but I would probably have looked very long and hard at knight c4, d takes c4 there. Yeah. Because I don't want to have to admit that I've made the mistake of playing bishop d6 in the first place.
Right. Anyway, in the game, after quite a bit of thought, Tom retreated his bishop, and Colm played it simply. He just went here, and this is the key thing that I learned. And I learned from a friend of mine who in Germany, he's Marcus. He is about 2250. So Marcus is a 2250 player, and he loved the Catalan, and I actually learned Catalan stuff from him. But he got a lesson. Like, I don't know, he was playing in some tournament in Germany, and I think he either played Peter Swiedler in one of the early rounds, or else Peter just came up and started analysing with him and showed him how to play the Catalan in like the space of half an hour. And when you have a player of Swiedler's stature and communicative ability, you can learn really quickly. But anyway, Marcus told me that in these kind of positions, if you can get your knight up to f5, that's fantastic. And that's the idea that I used in my game against Sarah, and I think I used it in another game.
It's the same,
in the Catalan, but it's a lovely square to get to.
It's the same idea in the aforementioned game from the 4 knights that I told you about. Against Mamadrov. Knight c4 to e3 to f5, with a beautiful combination on g7 actually. So I don't know if that figures in this game. But
anyway, we played. Tom played d4, and again he's not clear. He's not feeling comfortable in this position because he spent 17 minutes deciding to play d4. So of course, Colm just goes up.
It's very committal, isn't it? So
it is committal.
And to be honest, it's an interesting choice, which could work out quite well for Black as well.
Yeah.
You always want to keep the tension in these positions if you can. In my own experience, I remember playing against Danny King once upon a time, and I had the white side of a position like this, but I wasn't as well placed as Colm is here.
Yeah.
And Danny chose a setup. He played rook e8 first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the move I would be thinking of just to play, so I can go back. I can go back with my bishop.
The knight goes to f5, and the bishop drops back to f8.
Yeah, and now I'm kind of covering this g7 square, which is going to be a bit tender because of this bishop shooting all the way down there.
Yeah, and so if you play knight f5 there and bishop f8. If you try to build up pressure on those central pawns, Black can simply play knight b6 and sometimes goes a5, a4. And I think that's what happened to me in that game.
I guess if you went something like this, you can always go here.
Yeah, and you've got this way of actually attacking on the queen side with a5, a4. So White actually needs a proper plan here to get somewhere. E3 is one way to play, because you do prevent d4, and the knight. No, the problem is that knight though on f5 is running out of squares.
Yeah.
So it's very risky to play g6. The knight is actually, possibly, on the verge of being lost. Yeah, so it's tough position. This is the way you keep the tension in these positions. Like, it's always better. Colm actually likes playing these kind of clear cut kind of positions. I mean, it's not that it's clear cut and there's no complexity to it. There's a lot of complexity, but you're much better keeping the tension, I think, in this position as opposed to committing one way or the other. I think so. Okay, so anyway, so he played d4. But maybe he has some plan in mind here.
He played d4 and Colm shot up with his knight quickly. Yeah, look, he took about 3 seconds to stick that knight on f5, so he actually his clock went up. So Tom went to e8. And
that's an interesting choice. Again, here once again, I would probably be looking at something else. I'd already given up. I would already have accepted that the bishop is gone.
Yeah.
Here, I probably would go bishop e4 here. I know that looks like an odd move, but that's sort of the way I'd be thinking about this position. It just makes queen c2 less possible. If knight takes e7, check, queen takes, I'd see my rooks as being connected. And there being some kind of you might go to C and the C and D files rather than the E, and I'm not sure. Well, I might just go rook e8. See, the thing is, White's only got one weakness in these positions, which is the e2 square. And Black should always be, mindful that if you can put pressure in that square, it's hard for White to organize.
Right.
So, White can always choose to try and swap off.
Anyway, let's continue the game. An idea. Yeah, rook e8. So Colm took the bishop and defended his pawn, and now Tom played knight d5. So he might come into c3. He might go to b4. This knight might come here, I guess, or might come here. Options.
Rook c1, yeah, looks good.
Okay, rook a8. And now Colm played a3. Did he take a bit of time? No, he took 3 or 4 minutes to decide on a3.
Well, b4 is a very natural instinct because if you can undermine the c pawn, the d pawn falls, and then you have the bishop and the queen on the long diagonal. That's a pretty dangerous battery.
True. You know? So now Tom played a5, trying to stop b4, which is fair.
Yeah.
But now I think this is the position where suddenly the evaluation changes big time in favor of Colm after Tom's next move. And that's the other thing. Like, again, if we look at I'm just looking at the times. So at this point, Tom has 48 minutes, and he takes like 14 minutes to make rook a8. So he's struggling he can't find a plan.
If you go back again, just to say that there's nothing wrong with just going a5, a4 here.
Yeah, indeed.
Because if you think about it, like a5, it just, it also discourages a move like a3, which Colm wants to play anyway. Mm-hmm. But having the rook on the a file, it can also come up to a6 and then swing over to e6 as well. So there's lots of possibilities here. So,
right,
it's much more active. See, these sorts of positions for black, because I used to have a lot of trouble playing against them as white.
Yeah,
they're all based on this sort of like dynamism where a position can turn on a penny, and for that to happen, you have to have these sort of like these breaks, the d4 break, or perhaps the a5, a4 push. Because if Colm does play a3 now, it would leave his b pawn as being chronically weak. Now, at the same time, the white knight could move from d2 over to c4. But you can still go a4 and just sack the pawn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then play bishop c6, and it's going to get suddenly quite complex. Yeah.
Anyway, he spent 14 minutes over rook a8.
Okay.
Colm took 4 minutes to play a3, and now again. Tom, he took 8 minutes to play a5. 7 minutes, 8 minutes to play a5. He's not feeling comfortable in this position. Although the machine is probably saying it's maybe a little bit better, easier for white. But I think for me, white's pieces are more harmonious.
Well, you remember when I suggested earlier bishop e4?
Yeah.
There was another reason for that, is because if you've committed the pawn to d4 and c5, one of the ways to undermine the position is with a3, as Colm said. But if that bishop was in e4, black could have just gone rook b8 here, and built pressure on the b file. So that's another one of the ideas in the position. But it's okay for black, though. It's not so bad. Like, if he goes queen d2, he just has to go rook a8 again, I think.
That's what he played, but the machine doesn't like that at all. The machine, when I looked at it earlier, the machine said, no, like, you've spent 2 moves moving your rook to d8 and then back to a8. If you knew you were going to need that pawn protected, you should have pushed a5, like you said, when the rook was still behind it. And now it's not. And in fact, the machine likes just to continue on and just sacrifice the pawn and not worry about it.
I mean that's the other thing. Like, you could go a4 here, and the pawn's getting quite far up the board, so it's going to be a bit existentially frightening for white. But is there anything wrong? I suppose a4, yeah, okay. But we'll look at the game anyway. What he played.
We'll look at the game, sorry. After rook a8, Colm played queen c2.
Okay.
And Tom played a4, again using more time. And Colm now really starts putting the screws on, and he's just like killing. He wants that d pawn. He wants to get rid of that d pawn at all costs, and he doesn't care about his queenside pawns.
Once b4 comes in, I'm beginning to really think that black's position is in a bit of trouble, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that e pawn will eventually come. Can we go back for a second just there? The other thing I was going to say was, so straight away after, instead of playing a4 there, knight on d5 to b6 was calling out to me after queen c2.
To here?
Yeah, so the knight there to b6, because you're now freeing up the idea of playing bishop d5.
You're going there or here as well, I guess.
So bishop's e4 is unpleasant.
Yeah.
And the other thing you might be thinking about doing is basically playing a move like rook e to c8, or well, actually after b4 in some lines you can go c4. It depends, but I think that knight there supports an a4 push. I think there's this sort of healthy kind of like, it's not the healthy play here for black. I think this is the sort of position that I could easily lose as white, because you have to play very concretely here, whereas black can just, I mean, what would you play here, Jonathan? What do you think?
What would I play after knight b6? Okay, well, I think I have to play a move like that. I have to go for that.
b4.
B4. I want that d pawn.
Okay. You want the d pawn.
I want to have. I mean, as the song goes, I want to break free.
Okay.
And apologies all the viewers for that appalling rendition of Freddie Mercury and Queen song. But
you're gonna have to start. You're gonna have to start groveling. I think that was terrible. I'm not a great singer myself now, but that was woeful. Bishop e4. Go on. Bishop e4.
Okay, bishop e4.
Where's the queen going?
Okay, I can go here.
Queen to d2. Yes, you have fallen into my trap. I just have to work out if there is a trap, but I'm sure you have fallen into my trap.
Fair enough.
Actually, no, it's pretty horrible. Actually, C pawn takes the b pawn. I think you've got to play, but then this queen takes d4, probably threatening mate.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for.
Yeah, I'll have to go f6.
Okay, and now I'm gonna. Do I want to take off? I don't want to take off. I want to be active.
But black doesn't really. The black b pawn may not be the strength that you'd like it to be. Well, okay. Yeah. So straight away, you're no problem me playing pawn takes pawn there, do you?
You take that pawn, honey, and I'm just going to sit here on a1. You now have two a pawns, which are, only worth half a pawn.
They're the A team, Jonathan, the A team.
A team, sadly, no. Who were they? Anyway, we won't go. No, let's stop those
the analogies,
1970s TV things. So anyway, that's what.
Anyway, we've come a long way.
We've come a long way
going on in this position after Queen e6. I think to say that I'd be pretty happy with that as black.
Right.
I don't think white's. I don't think black is always worse in these positions. The engine doesn't favor these positions for black ever.
Okay.
But
right.
These positions always. I'll be honest, I've lost too many games as white in them.
Fair enough. Yeah.
They're slippery.
Yeah,
I mean, Tarash players are slippery as eels in these kind of positions. With tactics and everything.
Anyway, Colin played b4, and after here we got, and this is a much better version because white doesn't have to swap off that bishop on g2,
and that's the difference. See, it's a
big difference.
The bishop had to come to e4 earlier to always be ready to do that, because if white keeps that bishop, you're always cruising for a bruising.
Anyway, Tom played b3, and he's now down to 11 minutes and 30 seconds a move. Like, that's not a lot of time. Colin has almost an hour. So Colin plays an easy move, queen g2. Knight went here, and of course Colin sticks his knight for a second time onto f5.
I mean, look at those two bishops. They're firing in all cylinders on g2 and on b2.
Yeah.
And they're, I mean, this is total domination on the diagonals.
Absolutely.
Let's are what they call diagonal domination. I don't know how you come up with the term.
It could be a subtle ad for social media site as well.
Or it could just be X marks the spot. There are two perfect X's on the board.
Or it could be Mark's X spot as well. It could be Mark's X spot named after yourself.
Well, no, I don't think so. That's
fair enough.
It's a bit tragic. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the Queen went e6, and at this point, the engine was screaming its head off. It was absolutely getting so excited here.
Because there's always a killer sacrifice on G7 in these lines with that knight in F5. There's got to be something.
This position is so good for Colm. He doesn't even need to do that. All his pieces are excellent. I guess the only piece that isn't doing a huge amount is the rook on E1. But it's like keeping
his king on G1.
And the king, yes, fair enough.
He's doing his parts. He's waiting.
But Colm at this point, he sank into the tank for about 15 minutes here. And obviously the move that he wants to play, it's screaming to be played, and that's what he played. But he was clearly working it all out. He knew he had Tom on the ropes, and he wanted to make sure that Tom stayed there because Tom is a tricky player as well.
He is definitely. Yeah, I mean that's basically playing for the magic square. Sometimes it's just that simple. So, but obviously, so G6 is forced.
Yeah. I think actually the machine was saying that this position is so bad that you should actually play Queen takes knight. So that's when the machine is saying to do that, you're in a bad position. And I'm presuming here now, if you look at this position, as it is in a minute, you could go wrong here as white trying to find some sort of forcing variation. In the sense that with the knight or the queen and the bishop, but it's very simple because I'm looking at that bishop on b2 is attacking the knight in f6. The way I'd look at this is that if you're already attacking that twice, it's only defended twice. If you remove one of the attackers, the knight would fall. And I was just looking, then black has a threat of queen takes f5, so I'm presuming Colm played e4 here. He did, and that's clearly the best move. And
the reason you can't take the knight, of course, is because of the check. The G pawn is pinned by the queen on G5.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really nice, simple idea.
That's not happening because of the pin. So the knight went to H5, and Colm played check, forced the king to F8. Now he takes the pawn. Takes the knight. So he's up a piece. But he had to calculate this carefully to make sure.
Mated,
so he's given up his queen for two rooks, which is, Tom is thinking maybe I'm going to get something here. And after bishop f1, which is forced, Tom plays bishop a6.
Let's have a look at this for a minute now, because
now if Tom could have got this bishop over to h3, he would have been just winning. But he can't do that. So
not on the age of electronic chessboards. Back in the day, you could distract your opponent and just put the bishop on h3 because people's score sheets were so badly written. You could bishop a6.
So bishop a6, and Colm thought for a bit here, and he played queen d2, and that forces the rook to take rather than the bishop, because you'd like to have taken with a bishop and say we do this, and suddenly I guess we go here, and now there'll be a bishop h3 discovered checkmating or something like that. Yeah, but that's not happening. So
it's pie in the sky.
It's pie in the sky. So the rook takes f1 check. King went here, and again now it's so hard for Tom to find a move, and he finds f6 just to block that bishop.
Queen b4 check was coming as well.
Queen b4, exactly. It's still on the cards. Colm played g4. Where's the knight going? If the knight goes back to g7, then the f pawn falls to the bishop. So he played rook e8.
Threatening rook e2. That's a good.
Yeah,
as good a try as any. Yeah.
Colm took, but Colm has queen b4 checked, like you mentioned earlier.
Followed by bishop d4.
And now he didn't play bishop d4. He just played knight g4.
Simple, yeah.
And if the rook takes the bishop, then there's going to be check, and he can't. If he goes to here, it's checkmate in 1, and if he goes to here, we take with the knight, bringing the extra piece in, and then we have a range of options. Let's do the in-your-face checkmate. So that's what would have happened. So instead, Tom is forced to take the knight, and
queen f4 looks pretty strong, and then threatening mate.
Queen f4. Colm played queen d6. Queen f4 looks like it's as
That's
good.
The same thing, really.
Yeah, and here the position is so bad that Tom decided he had to take this with check, and took there, and then Colm just said thanks very much, and at this point Tom resigned. So I thought, I think the game was a really instructive. It was instructive on what to do with those hanging pawns, and that maybe you shouldn't have gone in for the hanging pawns. Maybe you should have gone for more active pieces and had to keep an isolated pawn instead. But
you remember earlier I mentioned the fact that the bishop going to d6, there can be issues if you play c5. And because the bishop can be hanging, and actually that was the source of all of Black's problems. See, knight d2 is not the most active place for the bishop.
Actually, let's see. When did the bishop go to d6? Here was knight d2.
Yeah.
Knight gf6.
The bishop.
So here he could have played bishop e7, and maybe bishop e7 would have been a better move.
So it is, because you retain the idea to go knight e4 and bishop f6 at some point. Sometimes the bishop on e7 is also good for preventing knight g5 if white goes for a queen c2 knight g5 idea. And it's just that, as I mentioned to you, the bishop is often hanging on d6 in those lines. And it's funny. It's the one thing that makes knight d2 look like a better move. I suppose what Tom's thinking on it probably was, I'm just guessing, was that with the knight already on d2, he can go to d6 because there's no knight b5.
Mm-hmm.
But in those positions with the knight on c3 and when the bishop goes to d6, knight b5, Black just usually plays bishop e7 followed by a6.
Let's
so anyway,
stop.
Finish it.
We're going to go on to what I think is the best game of the tournament.
Okay.
Now that was a pretty good game.
That was a great game by Colm. Really strong play.
This game, I think, I really loved this, and I loved it because Joe played an opening that I know quite well, and David played a wrinkle in it, and he showed how to play against King's Indian attack, French style.
Okay.
So this is another. The previous game was played this morning. And this game was also played this morning. So two really good games.
So far, this is a very strong contender for a game of the tournament.
Yeah, this one that's coming up. And so we have this King's Indian
Bobby
attack.
Fischer would be smiling, seeing the King's Indian attack.
Exactly.
So, well.
And now David played h6. He's just
I've seen this
waiting.
It's
It's kind of adds a little wrinkle. And you're just kind of like you're encouraging e5, because like if white played e5, that would be a mistake, because suddenly now the pawn is under attack. You defend it again, but you play here, and you can do this kind of stuff. You can play here. You castle queenside.
G5 is on the cards,
and then G5 exactly, and you're going to. In fact, you can go G5, G4 immediately, and you take away one of the defenders of this pawn. So
now I have a confession to make, Jonathan, that this particular idea with H6, now admittedly played after B6, I've been teaching my students for years based on the famous game O'Connor versus O'Donnell. I didn't want to necessarily bring it up to you. I know you love it. You love playing this variation, but Conor O'Donnell played this line against you once in Irish Championship.
He played an earlier B6. He didn't play H6 until I'd committed.
Just when
you
were
E5.
waiting for him. Yeah, just when you were waiting for him to castle, he went H6 and then castle queenside and played G5 and H5. And that is a very dangerous game. So I'm well aware of this time of H6. It's David.
But David had an extra wrinkle in it. So
okay.
Joe played rook E1.
Yeah.
Now David castled. And so once
he's gone kingside.
He's gone kingside. So and now E5 happened. And normally you'd go back with the knight to D7. But no, David plays knight H7, and this is interesting because he's saying, okay, yeah, I know you want to attack me on the king side, but I've now got an extra piece protecting my king. I'm not going to be as vulnerable. Also, if the knight goes back to D7, now you're it's in the way of developing this bishop. And
makes it harder to achieve F6 as well sometimes because the pawn on E6
exactly,
is weak,
absolutely. So this knight H7 I think is a really interesting move.
I've not seen that idea before. That's new to me.
So that's why I picked it. This is one of the reasons I picked this game. So we continued on. Joe is playing standard King's Indian attack moves.
And by the way, the standard King's Indian attack moves, you said this is usually a recipe for disaster. That someone does something different in the plan, but you continue on with the same plans. Because in the other game that you played, C4 was a big idea for White, not playing E5. But I would imagine that here, once again, something like an early C4 by White might be important. But that's just my guess. That you got to the bishop going to F4 isn't going to get anywhere with that knight on H7.
True.
Maybe you need to change the plan.
Yeah, I think
C4?
maybe C4 or C3 followed by D4 is also an option. I think.
Okay.
But I don't know. Anyway, let's carry on. These positions are subtle, and you can't just like close your eyes and make. White can't close their eyes and just make move after move like say in the Benko. Well, even there in the Benko, there's probably move order tricks and stuff. But Joe played H4.
That being said, that pawn on H6 does look a bit juicy as well. If you get a nice knight to G4 via H2, pieces, the stars might align. I always think that it's like when you're playing this White.
Okay, so anyway, we had A4, and now
critical moment.
Now, like our game from what game? It was Joe Ryan against John Delaney, where Joe had the pawns the black side, these black pawns up John's throat on the queen side. It was actually like a mirror image on the queen side of this, and we thought that John should have played like pawn to rook, queen to rook 3 or A6.
Kind of standard. It's standard gut reflex or reflex, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So David played bishop E7, and now Joe finally brought out his last minor piece. And David pushed on, and then this knight went to here, and again now we're kind of getting worried about sacrifices here. But we have this knight that kind of helps to stabilize stuff, and David just put his king in the corner, so you can take on H6, but you're not getting a check, and there can be there'll be pieces shooting over to defend.
Can you take on B4 here though? As in, like with all of these sort of like these prophylactic moves going on the king side, with the king stepping aside nimbly from a potential attack, can you take and play like some to go for something like C4 now, or it's just to try to open things up because with the king side kind of fairly blocked off there. Yeah, that A pawn looks a bit weak there, doesn't it? And you've got...
It's not weak. It's strong. It's past pawn. It's flying all the way up.
Okay. No, I will grant you that. Yes, it is. It is both a strength and a weakness. Yes. Okay, I want to go Queen D2 here.
Queen D2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna I'm going to play. I'm going to play this way, I think.
Okay, and I'm just trying to decide.
I'm just going to. If I have time, I'm going to pop this bishop back on f8.
So, okay, can we play bishop takes h6 here? That's what everyone in the audience wants to know.
Okay, well, let's have a look.
That's it. This is the.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Okay.
It has to be. It's the principal thing to do. Mightn't be good,
okay.
but knight takes.
Oh, knight takes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to just target f7. Now, once I've played these flurry of great sacrificial moves, I'll probably just resign on the spot.
Okay, I'm going to go here because I'm now threatening. Okay. I'm now threatening to take this pawn.
Okay.
And also, I can also play rook to c7 to possibly help defend. I can play king g7 to defend the f pawn again if I need to.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Yeah. What about knight? Okay, it doesn't really work.
Knight
so
g5.
You got to go rook ec1. Okay, the sacrifice is looking a little bit dodgy now.
Yeah, no. You're
well, rook ec1. I know it's a long-term kind of bluff. You know?
Mark, that sums up your chess style. A long-term bluff.
A long-term bluff, yes. Because you have this idea of knight g5 at some points, and queen f4. I mean, it's so at the moment, you know, what's Black's breakthrough plan on the queen side? I don't really see one.
Oh well, I'm just gonna keep on going.
Okay, keep going.
So okay, go there.
All right. So then, now that you have decided to do that, can I risk playing something like queen f4, or do I have to go knight g5 first?
Oops, sorry. No,
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I'm gonna concede this one as being probably not enough.
Okay.
But I think there's enough in there to make it, you know, interesting. Maybe,
folks. In case you're wondering, we aren't using engines. Although I did when I was watching this game live, off and on between shopping and cooking lunch and stuff like that. Today, I did every so often switch the engine on to see how things were going. Yeah. Joe played queen c1 with a similar idea. Maybe he wants to actually take twice on h6, but end up with his queen on that square.
Yeah, queen c1 makes as much is a sensible move.
Yeah. So we took the pawn.
Okay.
And now David plays knight d4. Very committal move. And this is where it got interesting because this is actually a pawn sack. It's a pawn sack because that d pawn is going to drop off. After queen b2 happened, David played queen d7. And I think the judgment here from David was excellent. He just says, okay, I've got c file for my rook. I also now I can now drop this bishop back to f8 to really defend this thing here more carefully. Joe played rook e2. The bishop kicks the queen backwards there. The rook comes to the b file. Again,
it's very active, isn't it?
It's like that scene from that film, A Fish Called Wanda. Do you remember that film? It's an old film, and there's a scene where one of the characters is stuck in a load of cement, and and he's been bullying this other character who has a stutter. I think it's who's he played?
Ken.
Is it Ken? Bullying Ken.
His name is Otto, the bad guy, and basically he's always pretending he can speak Italian because Otto, his name, means 8 in Italian. That's Kevin Kline.
Yes, and so Ken is in this steamroller that's slowly, it's slowly advancing towards Otto, who's stuck in this cement, and he's going to be flattened. But the scene takes about 10 minutes to play out. The steamroller is going so slowly, and this position reminds me a bit of that steamroller, because of
very hard position.
Yeah, because of David. He's not trying to get his pawn back. He's just like putting his pieces on good squares. He's worrying this queen here with the rook coming down. So Joe decides he needs to try and block the b file. I mean, I probably would have just like moved away from the b file completely and let you have it. Like, what do I care? But
do you know what? It's a tricky one though, because you can't even play d4 here, because of bishop a6. So he's a bit starved for decent moves here. Bishop a6, nice little discovered attack on the rook and e2.
Yeah.
So and you don't want to necessarily play a move like, although maybe it's the only way to play it, you don't necessarily want to play a move like c3 as well, because
C3...
you're giving away the b3 square, but there could also be some tricks with d4.
Well, again, you go here, and when the queen comes over
to c2, yeah.
Well, it's the c2. Then you might have this.
Oh, bishop d4. Yeah, gosh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and then and now you are going to have that rook coming down to c3 to b3.
Yeah, so the queen had to go to d2. One thing what does make it interesting to me is if you do in this position go queen d2,
go here.
Yeah, but
I'm
now
this.
But it does look a little bit more attractive from White's perspective to play bishop takes h6.
Oh, you've lulled me. You've lulled black into a false sense of security, and now you pounce.
Exactly, but I'm terrified you're going to take my a pawn after bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Go on, take it.
Okay.
So, there's nothing happening on the king's side. Oh, my poor a pawn.
And now, are you going to do this? Yeah, you're going to do this, aren't you? You are, aren't you?
Knight f6.
Why? Oh, and we can. It's like, it's shakalaka boom time, Mark. It's
and you have, but actually it's not. There was also at some point after bishop takes, queen takes h6. There's also bishop takes d3. Just protecting the knight in h7.
Okay. So instead of so it's in this position, you could play this.
Yeah, I think. But it's. Do you have a crazy move like bishop e4?
That's channeling your inner Fischer, who won a beautiful game against, I think, the Mongolian player Mayag Mazarin at I think an Olympiad in the 60s sometime. It was one of and I guess if you do this, you just keep on, they just keep on coming, don't they?
Yeah. So, but in that position, it's not as simple because
the bishop can come shooting back, can't it?
Well, so d takes e4. So no, go back. So,
you play bishop here now, don't you? Although
h5
we
again?
just queen h5, we keep the pin on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, you can't take that rook because of knight h7, knight f6. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
There's one more little wrinkle in that. If you just go back 2 moves after, so if bishop takes d3 there, bishop e4.
Yeah.
D takes e4.
Okay.
You have knight f6.
Yeah.
Threatening mate in h7.
So you have to play e3, right?
Yeah, and then knight takes d7.
Okay.
And that, but it's not. That's you're still alive. I'm saying, because you have this bishop takes e2 idea. I think there.
You do have, or you could even. You do have bishop takes e2 because you can go back. All right.
Anyway, it does look as if White is safe enough and not going to. White has got enough there probably to hold anyway, if not win. But
anyway,
it's a distraction. Yeah.
Joe,
but maybe
Joe went, and again, David's played very fast. He's got 1 hour 23 minutes used. Joe has used 40
he puts people
minutes.
under pressure that way.
He does. And he knows his opening so well. That's also part of it. So, yeah, anyway, Joe goes back to d2 with the bishop. And David just improves, makes his bishop a bit more active.
Oh,
and so the bishop blocks. Yeah.
I just noticed that there's all sorts of horrible tactics here. If Queen c1 there was maybe bishop takes d3 because although you wouldn't the threat is coming of bishop takes d3 and bishop takes f2 check and rook takes queen. It's too much material now, but at some point you'd be afraid to play queen c1 possibly because of that. Now that's
that's indeed it is. But anyway, those kind of ideas are on the cards after queen c1. I don't know. I guess you
bishop d4
play...
first, and then bishop takes d3. So
yeah,
that looks really strong.
Yeah, that does. That's excellent. Okay. Anyway, Joe played bishop b4,
which is the only move, obviously.
I guess. And David plays here, like eyeing more, putting more pressure on the f pawn.
And here's the irony: you'd love to play c3 and d4 here, but the pawn on d3 falls after c3.
Yeah. So Joe overprotected his bishop, and David said, "Yeah, grand, I can double up, and I have a choice of files, either on the B or the C file. Probably the C file he wants." And now Joe plays rook d2, and I don't like that move at all.
I was going to say he might have missed a little trick there because when he played rook b1, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just in terms of after queen a7, could he have gone, instead of rook b1, could he have gone rook d1? So the only way I can see white surviving this
is to play c3.
It's to play c3, and if you can't play c3, you're bust. So there would want to be a pretty good reason why you can't.
Okay. How about this?
Okay, c3.
Bada bing.
Yeah, and then bishop takes.
Okay, now which do I take? Oh, I take the queen, of course. Yeah. Okay.
And how much material do we have after bishop takes? Do we have enough to hold?
You've got a rook and
a bishop
for a rook and bishop for the queen. That's
probably not enough.
Yeah. Probably not. And again, there's certain weaknesses here, and I don't think it'd be enough. Anyway,
it doesn't work.
Rook b1, rook c7, played rook d2, and that's a mistake. It takes the eye off the e pawn. I guess he's trying to play d4, but he doesn't have enough time to do it, and David just pounces immediately. Plays bishop d4, hitting the queen. The queen went back to c1, and now he kicks the knight, and that...
Hang on a second. Okay. I just saw something from a few moves ago. The trick there.
Okay.
Rook back to... So, rook there. That moment in time. Yeah, so rook goes to b1. Was there the opportunity at some point just to play bishop takes c5 before you went rook b1?
Oh, because you're I guess you can do that. I'm going to play
queen
here.
Takes.
Yeah. And now you play queen c1. Are you saying? Is that?
And now go queen c1. And I know that
there's still but there's still this move.
Oh, bishop takes d3. Okay.
It's just horrible. Really,
yeah, it's everything. Nothing works.
No, I mean, like again, when you've got a good position, all the tactics work for you, and that's what David's position is in this.
Sorry. It was just the resource was there. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so we had so rook d2 was wrong, and lads bishop d4, followed by h5, kicking the knight away. The knight went back here, and now the pawn drops off, and it'll go downhill very quickly from here. But interestingly enough, if you look back here, because of that move, we need to overprotect our e pawn. It doesn't look as like we have to because we've got 1, 2, 3 pieces on it, but that knight isn't stable because of h5.
Yeah,
the queen isn't stable because of bishop d4. So we need to keep our rook here on e2, and what I think the best move would be is to play the knight to h2. And you're going to go back to f3 next move, which kind of makes bishop d4 harder to play for black. And it also adds another protection, a permanent protection of your e-pawn. Because on f3, the knight can't be kicked out by a pawn. Yeah. So that's what Joe should have played. But I think, let's see, what was the time? 32 minutes. He only spent 4 minutes thinking, 3 or 4 minutes thinking about.
But you know, when you're in a position like that, you're kind of, it's very hard to go into the tank in a way, as you say.
Yeah.
Because you're just so depressed about your position, and you're just very hard to stay positive in a position like this. Is I suppose the way it put it.
Okay, so we had bishop d4, queen c1. Now h5, we lost the pawn, and now he plays this, and he gives up another pawn.
Oh,
so things have really. I don't know if he just said, "Feck it, I've got to give up that pawn. I need to bring my knight back, regardless of the cost."
Now, feck it from the Irish feck to see. As in feckum, feckin two, feckin che, feckin she, feckin me, feckin she, feckin sheet. For all of our younger listeners out there,
it's a polite form. It's quite a polite curse in Irish terms. So anyway, Queen e1. He played Queen e1 to defend the f pawn. The bishop went back, and it just this is really adding huge pressure. You can see once you've got a big advantage, you don't have to do anything special. You just put your pieces on good squares, doubling up on the c file, putting more pressure on this weakness. So Joe went back to d1 with his queen to try and defend the other weakness. Like it's the c and the f pawns are weak. So David brings his knight into the game. For the first time, for a long time, he can actually move it to f6, where it's not going to be taken by a pawn.
I'd say that he must have felt very righteous playing knight h7 to f6 because that little maneuver with h6 and knight h7 completely flummoxed Joe, as it probably would
a lot of
most
people.
Players. Because,
absolutely.
And it was interesting though. I wonder, did Joe spend much time when he saw h6, knight h7 coming on the board? Because actually, weirdly enough, when you're confronted with something that new, that early, you're already at a critical moment in the game sometimes. Because if you go ahead, like in the London system or the Colley, or if you have your system, your plan-based system, and King's Indian Attack is a great example. That was the time maybe to go into the tank for 25 minutes. To work out. Well, maybe he did. I didn't check the times, but
we'll have a look just briefly at the end here. But now Joe trying to get some activity, trying to attack a weakness of blacks. In this case, the a pawn. He plays rook b4, and suddenly David pounces. David's not a man that you should give tactical opportunities to, and because he takes them, and he plays bishop takes d3, and
he found the magic square in f2.
He actually played this in 3 seconds, or no, actually, sorry, he played it in a minute. He took a minute to decide, which is fair enough, but it's like he didn't have to wait that long, and you can't take. The problem is if you take with the pawn. You lose your queen. It's pinned. And he took with the rook. But that gives up the f pawn. And
then the rook comes to join.
And then the rook comes.
The second rank.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what and it just. And now we got this, and it's just like. That's a beautiful move. Yeah, lovely little finish.
And knight f1 check picks up the queen.
And now it goes here, and now it's worse, Mark. It's
worse.
It
says mate on g3
because there's going to be a mate exactly. Whoops, sorry, hang on.
That's really nice. Yeah, it's worth showing as well.
Yeah, if
king h3.
If king h3, you just go here checkmate, And if you go here, there is, I guess just, is there, wait, there's something here. Is there something?
No.
No, I thought there was some. Oh yeah, there is. There's this, mate. Check.
Oh yeah.
King here. And this beautiful mate.
H1 checkmate.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is nice. Oh God, that's a tough game.
That's a tough game. So this game is my current favourite for the Brilliancy Prize. Because
I'm actually delighted I'm not playing in this tournament. Everyone's playing too well.
Yeah. But I love this because of the wrinkle in the opening. The pawn sack for like positional pawn sack and the steamroller, the slow steamroller effect on the queen side. And then suddenly when Joe, under a huge amount of pressure, he tries to get activity, and suddenly David is able to sack a piece for the last mate, and he kind of comes round the side. You know, he's coming round from the queen side over on the 7th rank, and of course, if Joe had allowed this mate, I think this is a beautiful mate.
Now, I have to say that I'm not as convinced by David's system with H6 and Knight H7 as I am by the system that Conor O'Donnell played against you in the Irish a few years ago, which was similar, but where he castled queenside and got like an amazing attack. But what was interesting about that, because I've had a chance to look at that game a fair few times, was that often these it's about how you respond to a new plan. And the one thing that is, so how did this game go? It went rook e1. This game,
Joe spent 6 minutes thinking here and played rook e1.
And
David continued. He spent 30 seconds moving castles and writing down his move.
So this is all prep,
And now Joe pushed on almost immediately.
Which is, as soon as you see the king castling kingside, you think, okay, now we can go back.
Now we're good to go.
The standard plan. And now how this is the moment when I would probably have gone into the tank big time here to try and work out a plan, being mindful of the fact that the queenside pawns will come, and everything like that. If in doubt in all these positions, as a general rule, I just go c4, because there was the way this whole c4 idea. I remember seeing a book by Dvoretsky. It was the series that
he that's right. And one of them he said that when he was still playing, he only became an IM, and even though he was much stronger than that, I think he was in the top 60 players in the world at one stage. But he kind of gave up playing early on in his career because he realized he'd never get close to anywhere near the top 10.
And for those of you who don't know, Dvoretsky is considered one of the great trainers. Now, just when I say c4 here, so I'm always trying to play this, but there might be immediately issues with the d pawn after knight to b4, for example. I'm not sure if it's the right moment to play it, but I'd be trying to make something like that work here. Or as you said, this idea to go c3, although maybe there's
I think one thing, Mark, I know I'm very fond of Camille Plitka's King's Indian Attack course on Chessable, and one of Camille's comments in these lines, in some of the sidelines where you can't just go for the standard attack on the king side, he reminds us that you don't actually have to play always on the king side in these positions. You can also play in the center and on the queen side, and you can play like little moves like c3, and maybe you play a3 and b4. You can grab a little bit of space on the queen side, and if you do it in a careful enough manner, your position, you'll actually
you're always slightly improving your position.
You're always exactly.
So but I'm not sure. It's not that Joe made any big error there. I suppose the one big thing already this for me is a critical moment where you go into the tank to come up with a plan. But it's only critical because you're confronted with the new plan basis. But that's very good.
Okay, we're going to sum up. There are 2 other games in the database in the Lee Chess study. Again, if we just Sorry, just one moment. I'm going to switch to in here, if you go into the details about the tournament, you will see that there is a link to the Lichess study that I've set up for this. And in this study, you will see a number of games. You'll see there's 2 other games that were played this afternoon, which we don't have time to go over. But in one, David was playing Colm. David had white, and it was a sharp Sicilian where Colm played a slightly unusual idea in the Richter Rouser, and he kind of encouraged David to attack him. David did, but wasn't quite accurate enough, and Colm was able to snatch a couple of pawns. And then again, David would have been okay if he'd played the absolute best move. But when you've got to find the single move to keep on the balance, then that is hard to do, and he wasn't able to make it, and Colm won a nice game. And there was another game, Tom O'Gorman against John Delaney, and again that was a kind of a Dutch defense, slightly unusual Dutch defense, and Tom, I think, basically waited until John got bored with the position and went for a pawn sack, and then Tom cleaned up nicely. So you can have a look at those games. You can also have a look at some of the other games, the earlier games in that Lichess study, because those are some of the favourite games that Tom O'Gorman and Mark Heidenfeld have played over the years, and they're some of them are really fantastic games, worth playing over. And tomorrow we will be looking at we'll have my final decision as to the best game of the tournament. Currently it is this game that we've just looked at, and just to check who the players are playing tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning it starts again at 11 o'clock. If you're in the Dún Laoghaire area, go along, have a look. But if we look here at the pairings for tomorrow, that's round 6 and 7. So John Delaney has white against Alex Baburin. We have Joe Ryan against Eamon Keogh. We have Colm against Mark Heidenfeld. And we have Tom against David. I think this is the last chance for Tom. He has to beat David. If David wins that game or draws, I think David will win the tournament.
He's won the event.
I think he will. David's only half a point ahead of Colm at the moment.
Okay, and Colm is having a really good tournament. He always performs well in the Irish Championships, and this is a version of it. He
likes the challenge, definitely. Yeah. And in the final round tomorrow afternoon, David is playing John Delaney. David has white. Mark is playing Tom O'Gorman. Eamon is playing Colm, and Alex is playing Joe Ryan. So all difficult games. There's no easy game there. All difficult game. I just again
can't call any of them either. You wouldn't want to, not in an event like this. No.
So I think Tom can catch David if he has a very good day tomorrow.
Colm could pip David to the post if
absolutely
if the games go his way as well.
Yeah. I think it's between these three, the top three here.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, Mark, thank you very much.
That was great. Thanks for the suggestions for these two games. They were really good and they're very instructive. And we will definitely be looking at those other games probably on a separate video. We'll be going through this event and looking for interesting games to do some videos on in the future as well. So if you wanted to see those games, we'll probably put a video out in the near future as well. But have a great evening, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow evening. And by then we will know who the champion of champions is.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, everybody. Cheerio. Have a good evening.
Take care, guys. Good night.
Bye.